the media was asking Boots Ennis about Brian Norman Jr. recently, and he just said, he's not good, and basically referring to the call outs and the way that media has been portraying Brian Norman Jr. I guess to Boots in a lot of ways, and just the back and forth. They're gonna have beef regardless because of not agreeing on how things are going as far as getting the fight made and offers and negotiations and everything. And I spoke on that yesterday. But Boots Ennis had just said, he's not that good. He's not good, referring to Brian Norman Jr. and a guy he's been in the ring with already. He was saying that, you know, just making comments about his talent and, as far as comparing him to him, he just knows that, or he feels like he's better than Brian Norman Jr. But I heard a lot of people saying recently that Brian Norman Jr. needs to make the fight happen, and they waiting on him and don't run this time and accept the offer that he gets. To be honest with you, it was a lot more. Like I was telling other people, it was a lot more action behind Ron Norman Jr. trying to get the fight made before Stanionis and even Barrios. Barrios still has not been heard from as far as in Boots' case. I heard a couple of things, but it's not really like concrete. It was almost more of a let's build it up type of thing. And I've heard a couple of guys say that when it comes to Boots, so he's not the first one, especially a big name guy. But everybody he's basically trying to fight or fans want him to fight, he's already been in talks or close to fighting at a lot of different situations. It's just that the divisions and everybody else around haven't really been moving. See, Stanionis hasn't fought much recently, and a lot of other guys haven't. So the most active person you can actually look at is Brian Norman Jr. in that weight class, and he's a force. That's why his name is being thrown around like that. They're not thinking about Barrios or well before this, Stanionis wasn't really a main target or someone who was being as aggressive as Brian Norman Jr. was because in this case, he took a lot of money to fight Boots. So, like Boots said right after the fight happened, this is the reason why he wanted so much money. This is the reason why. And people could say it could be the same case for Brian Norman Jr. It could be, but it could not be. I mean, some guys, Canelo wants a certain amount of money when he goes into the ring, and other people to say that's Canelo. Before he was Canelo, he wanted a certain amount of money in the ring, and before he had a belt, Canelo was getting $12 million. So that's just a situation. So technically, a lot of guys are making less these days when it comes to big, big, big fights because this fight is huge. You would think that Barrios versus Boots would be a bigger name, a bigger fight, a more requested fight right now. But Brian Norman Jr. is. Everybody knows that. That's why Boots was, referring to him. He could have been like, man, I ain't finna talk about him. But he knows that that's the biggest fight that everybody's asking for because they know that Brian Norman Jr. is a threat. Whether they say he can beat Boots or not, they know he's still a threat. That's still a fight they want to see. People are itching to see that fight. They're a little more intrigued by that fight than the Stanionis fight, even though it was a good fight, good matchup that we've been waiting on. It's just a lot more hype around Brian Norman Jr. As soon as the fight ended, before the fight, just a lot of hype. He says he's not that good, but every boxer is gonna say that to a guy who he feels like he's better than. That's always gonna be spoken of. So Boots is not the first or the last person to say that. It's just it's mostly promotion behind it. Not promotion. These guys really feel like that, but still got to build a fight up a little bit because people gonna ask you questions about certain guys and how you feel about it. And but at the end of the day, Brian Norman Jr. is still somebody who's causing a lot of fuss out here, and he just came off of a performance where people are more intrigued to see him fight Boots. So you got to really think about that. Stanionis not really coming off a performance where it was like, whoa, any knockout performances or somewhere he dominated where it was like, whoa. He really didn't do that. So not to devalue the win that Boots had. I'm just saying that's why the hype is around the Brian Norman Jr. situation a lot more. As soon as the fight ended, the hype was around it. As soon as Boots beat Karen, people weren't saying, hey, they need to fight Stanionis. No, it wasn't like that. But as soon as this fight ended, they like, yeah, they need to fight Brian Norman Jr. So it's a big fight. Big fight. But yeah, he definitely gonna take his shots. Him and Bozy, they definitely don't feel like those guys are the best, but that's one of the top fights in boxing right now. Everybody wanna see that fight. I wanna see who's the best in that situation. I mean, you got a young guy who's trying to prove that he the best. Yeah, make that happen. I mean, T.O. was like the same. I think he was younger. I know Devin was around the same age when he started to make noise with Undisputed. So yeah, this is definitely a different scenario, especially when he fought Lomachenko. He was already making noise. So yeah, Brian Norman Jr. can definitely fight a guy like Boots right now. Is to say he's not good? He's definitely good. He's a champion.